to.
Yeah. Okay. And I remember I also had a brief exchange with you, Tarek, on this topic, but yes, we haven't followed up on it. So that's great. Great to see you. Good. So we've just been talking a little bit to Elisa about, so she's from Bulgaria, but I wonder if we're going to get any more people or whether we should start. I think we should probably make a start, don't you?
Yeah, I think so, Chris.
Yeah. Okay, so, but I would like just to know where everybody's from, just so that we can understand the geography of. So Tarek, you're in Jordan, is that right? And Dora, where are you?
I'm from Greece. Do you hear me?
Yes, good.
Yes, and I work for WWF Greece for the project in Dadia Forest, northeast Greece, next to Turkey.
Okay, great. And good. Dimitar, where are you from?
Hi, I'm from Bulgaria.
You're from Bulgaria. Okay, great. And we've got one more person just arrived, Umba. Great. Where are you from, Umba? Oh, Umberto. Yeah, I know where you're from.
You're muted, Umberto.
Yeah, you're muted, but I guess you're from UAE these days. Is that right?
These days I'm there. Yes.
Yes. Okay, great.
So I'm glad to see the camera is working because I had
Yeah.
a problem today. Okay, great.
Yeah, no, nice to see you. Good. Okay. So Mary, we've got those.
It might happen that at some stage go bzzz and make funny.
Pardon?
My video can have issues at some stage, so
Okay, yeah.
apologies in advance.
And I suggest we all keep our videos on if you don't mind, just so that we can make it as much of a conversation as possible, really, because we're a small group. And yeah, I was just, I'm not sure the best way to do this, but I'm suggest we've come up with 4 questions which Mary has put in the text. I don't know if you can see those questions. I don't know whether I can actually.
Yeah, if you go to the chat bar, this should be in there, although if you've just joined, might not be, so I'll put them in again.
Yeah. Why is one? Oh, yeah. To the chat bar. Oh yes. Okay, got it. Yeah. So we came up with some questions, and 2 questions there. And I'd really like to know people's views on whether they feel that it is a priority to safety test an Egyptian vulture to find out whether Egyptian vulture is definitely susceptible to diclofenac. And if, yeah, I mean, maybe we could just have a quick round on that topic before we progress to anything else. So as John, Mary and I all work together in South Asia, so I think for the others here, for maybe Tarek, would you like to start just, or people just cut? Yes, it's probably easier if I shout at you and ask you to speak. So Tarek, what do you think? Do you think that we should be safety testing Egyptian vulture, even if it's likely to involve killing, sacrificing at least one bird?
Yes, sure. I would like to share my experience with diclofenac in Jordan. So we ask all stakeholders, Ministry of Agriculture, about ban and the diclofenac in Jordan. And we organized a big event with the stakeholders workshop to raise awareness maybe for the diclofenac, because we don't have information, or stakeholders don't aware more maybe about the diclofenac impact in Jordan. They asked us to provide them evidence about the impact of diclofenac in Jordan, not in other countries. They don't need literature review or other evidence from other countries. But this is maybe impossible, because Jordan is a small country, so the vulture maybe eat for carcass in Jordan, but move directly for other country, and maybe they will die in other countries. So this is impossible for us. But we need firstly, we need evidence. This is maybe will provide us more power to ban the diclofenac in Jordan. But the first step, it's good for us. Ministry of Agriculture asked all factory producing diclofenac to put the caution statement about the impact of or negative impact of diclofenac on vultures. And now we are asking all veterinary don't use diclofenac, to use other alternative, or not use the diclofenac, but not use diclofenac for each cases. So maybe to use the diclofenac for the cases need emergency, or for the animal. So it's good step for us, but it's long term work.
Yes.
To ban the diclofenac in Jordan. So and another issue, maybe we have to think more about regional work, not just focusing on the national work, but country by each country. So we started in Jordan, and in Saudi Arabia they are started. But we need more efforts at the regional level to test, to provide evidence from all countries, maybe all organization or BirdLife partners, if they found any carcass for Egyptian vulture or any vultures, we need to test. We need to make sure that the impact of diclofenac at the regional level.
Thank you very much. That's really very interesting, and I'm delighted to hear you've already made that much effort in approaching the government. So I think you've answered the second question already in that list, that you do feel it's a priority to ban diclofenac in your country, and that's great. And maybe I can just comment a little bit on that myself, in that obviously Oman has taken that step recently to ban veterinary diclofenac there. Saudi Arabia has taken some measures, but it's not come through the other side so far as a national ban. But I heard a little bit yesterday on that from Professor Shabrak, which sounds encouraging. But we've had the same experience of in South Asia, where people will and officials, an initial reaction is, we want you to do this testing in our country, but we don't want to follow, especially for gyps vultures, work that's been done in South Africa on ketoprofen, for example, showing its toxicity has not led or not been as powerful for India, but in fact in Bangladesh they've accepted that work, and they have gone ahead and implemented a national ban last year for ketoprofen, based on work done in South Africa on gyps vultures, so as a surrogate. You presumably have gyps vultures as a equally relevant for the threat in Jordan as for Egyptian vulture. Is that right? You have griffon vulture also? Yes. Okay. So you can talk about that. But going back to that first question of whether we really do need to sacrifice an Egyptian vulture or two to reaffirm whether they are definitely susceptible. We believe they are from the population trends, but we don't have direct evidence that they are susceptible in the same way. Anybody else got an opinion on that question in the group?
Hi. So
Hi, Dimitar. Yeah.
in Bulgaria, the situation is, I guess, pretty similar. We have some discussions with Bulgarian Food Agency, and basically they told us that we need to have a proof on a national level for the problem with diclofenac. But I guess they know that it's extremely hard to find this kind of evidence. And this is just a way to postpone any other discussion on this. But I have the gut feeling that even if we have a proof for the problem for the vouchers with diclofenac and ketoprofen, for example, it won't be easy at all to convince them to ban the diclofenac, because there is a lot of, let's say, business pressure, a lot of companies and stuff like that. So, it's a more or less political game. Regarding the sacrificing of Egyptian vulture, I'm not sure that any one of my colleagues will be eager to test this in Bulgaria on a live bird for sure. And to find a dead vulture, Egyptian vulture in Bulgaria, and to prove that it's because of diclofenac, it's next to zero chance from a practical point of view. So it's a kind of tricky situation.
Yes, just to clarify, so if someone else was willing to do the work, do you feel it's justified? Is it something that you need in order to strengthen the case? Or I think what you're saying is that however strong the case, you think there will be an excuse not to do it?
No, I think that we should try anything, but
Yes.
it will be difficult. So, of course, if we have proof from other countries as much as close to Bulgaria as possible, and there is already a lot of scientific papers on the issue, but
Yes.
they're just using this as a mean to move the direction of the conversation in another direction. They say just you don't have a proof from Bulgaria, so let's stop talk about this ban at all, because it's a huge business for a lot of companies, stuff like that. So they're diplomatically they're saying that more or less it will be extremely difficult to use this as a reason to stop the use of diclofenac.
Okay, thanks very much. That's very helpful. Dora, you have
Yes. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay. In the frame of the Light-Free Vulture project, we succeed to send almost 30 samples from 30 different individuals of Cinereus vulture to a Spanish lab to examine the lead and the NSAIDs. And the results...
So which species, sorry?
Cinereus vulture. Aegyptis monachus.
Oh yes, Cinereus. Yes, thank you. Okay.
And the results were that two substances of NSAIDs have been detected, flunixin, meglumine, and phenylbutazone, if you know. But the second one, phenylbutazone, has detected only non-vulture, but very low concentration. And the other was detected in 2 vulture, and again the concentration were not so high. So these were the first results recorded for Greece, and we were happy that we kept these dead vultures in the fridge for years, because the first sample was, let's say, indicate of 2000. So I think that we can continue this research because we have dead vultures for several reasons. And we know the protocol, what to keep, at least if we don't have enough space to keep all the body after necropsy or other urgent examinations, like toxicological, because we need some parts of the bird to be examined according to this Spanish specifically lab. I don't know if every lab has the same protocol. So I think that it is possible at least to continue the research. And if we see that there are many cases, then we can, let's say, lobby. But in general, we did in our region and in the other sides of in central Greece, that is the other study area for Egyptian vulture. We did questionnaires with vets and with shepherds, and we saw that in general they don't use, because first they are expensive and they don't spend money for that. Only for the cow breeders, because every cow has high value and maybe they spend more money to save them, but not all of them. So what we understood from our, let's say, assessment was that the use is very low or none in our region.
Okay, thank you very much. That's really interesting. That is that Rafa Mateo's lab in Spain?
Wait a moment, I have it open.
Yeah. Anyway, that doesn't matter.
Toxicological Forensic Veterinary Service in Murcia. University of Murcia.
Okay.
And the professor is Antonio Juan Garcia Fernandez.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Great. And so just to ask you the same question that I asked just now, do you feel that testing an Egyptian vulture is a step that would be very helpful, or not really so relevant?
You mean testing a dead Egyptian vulture?
No, I mean a live one. So potentially sacrificing a live, maybe one which cannot breed in captivity or something.
Stoyan is here, I cannot say anything.
Well, we could ask Stoyan what he thinks.
No, of course, there are so few that we cannot, but we can see this with other species that we have dead samples already because they are poisoned, electrocuted, so we can use this. But not the few Egyptian vultures that we
all right, I think you're answering my question there by saying you're not sure. Just one question before we move on. I see Richard has a question, but when you find a dead vulture of any sort, presumably you do an autopsy. So if there was gout detected, that would be detected, visceral gout.
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yes, no, it's difficult. This. Why? Because there is no specific lab here in Greece to do this. So what we did is that we kept these bodies. So we had also the stomach material. Or we had the thought years ago to keep the stomach. That's why we had the sample.
Okay, so but you could, if you have a whole dead body, you could still do an autopsy even after some years.
Things that have to be improved in Balkans in general, in Greece included, the right necropsy for one list of things. Yeah.
Okay.
Improve this.
Well, I think just to highlight that this detection of gout is a very, very helpful indication that it's It's not necessarily NSAID, but it is a very characteristic symptom.
Yes, but look, the thing is that what is usual here for vets is to take the stomach, what is inside the stomach, only for toxicological analysis.
I see.
So
yes.
they sacrifice the sample only for this, you know, because
Okay.
there is no case. So now that we have this experience, we can persuade them to keep some for a future research again, you know, with a specific lab like we did with last year.
Thank you. Okay, I see Stoyan has got his hand up. Richard, if you don't mind, I'll go first to Stoyan and then come to you.
No,
Stoyan.
please, Chris, go ahead.
No, it's fine because I think, well,
Okay.
you want to comment on that specifically or?
No, a little bit further, and apologies for the late come. I was on a financial meeting far away from NSAIDs.
No problem. Good to see you. Yeah.
So two issues. First is something which is ongoing. Maybe you started somehow with this because I see Tarek on this roundtable. There is a lot of evidence about the vet use of NSAIDs, mostly diclofenac and diclofenac related drugs in Saudi Arabia, in Syria, in Jordan. We discussed previously about the need of international collaboration to lobby and use entities like CMS, IUCN, Voucher Specialist Group to help these countries to solve this issue. They held national level workshops with the ministry, so there is already an awareness, but you may start some kind of a closer cooperation in this line and to help them with your experience, especially from India. Second thing is all this evidence that you are discussing with Dora so far. I think we may try to avoid this long process of investigations. Do I need to go to someone and shoot in the head to prove that fire gun is dangerous? In every country, they request evidence, direct evidence about the impact of NSAIDs on the local vulture populations. There is enough scientific evidence that it's toxic to Gibbs group vultures, potentially Egyptian vulture, even other scavengers, even non-obligatory like the steppe eagle and so on. So
yes,
I'm for testing on the Egyptian vulture in some areas where they're very abundant. There are a lot of injured birds which are only for exhibitions and can be sacrificed for this idea. But again, if you test this in India, this will not work in Bulgaria because they want local evidence. Can we approach this issue differently? I mean, to try and convince authorities through, again, different conventions and so on, that if there is substances which are proven to be toxic to scavengers, they are available in the food, this could be an issue. Why we should find a vulture proven as died from diclofenac in Bulgaria in order that they take some measures, or ketoprofen, which is actually the most spread here, which is again toxic. So this is my comment.
Okay, thank you, Stoyan. That's very helpful. Okay, let's go to Richard and then Umberto. Yeah, Richard. Richard, are you there? You got your hand up? If not, I'll go to Umberto. Umberto, come in if you can.
Yeah, hi everybody. So two things. First of all, testing the Egyptian vulture as far where and if it's needed. So where, in which countries we only have Egyptian vultures, otherwise there is no point. Because if it's affecting another species of raptor or vulture that already we know about, there is no point of killing other animals, honestly, or doing extra exercise of spending money and time in discovering something that already we kind of know. And anyway, we need to do for other species. So I think we need to look into that if it makes any sense to look at that. It's not a matter of animal welfare or whatever. There are animals in captivity that are outside the breeding population. There are no conservation use for it. Let's use them if we need, but we need to see first if it makes any sense to do it in the first place. Second part, the role of the CMS and the conventions, Stoyan rightly so. We have established a informal working group on the NSAID. We have now prepared, and we will launch soon a fact sheet and a web page on explaining information. But of course, that is not going to be enough. We will need to do more work, and within the working group, probably we need to discuss what is the next step, collecting the talking to the right people, because we keep talking to the national contact point or focal point of the convention. Well, we need to talk with the veterinary authorities, and we need to get the information and the connection to get to the right people to talk about this. So there is still work to do, but of course we are trying to do something in that direction, and that's it.
Can I just come back to you, Umberto, on what you just said about whether we should test an Egyptian vulture, even if it's yes, I fully accept that we would only consider doing it on a bird that was not viable for release or even captive breeding. But I took from what you said that you didn't really feel it was even worth. I mean, there will be range countries where I guess you don't have the other species of vultures, but I mean, hardly actually. Yeah. So
that's my point. What is the point of doing it?
Yes.
If all the other countries have at least one of the jeeps or all the vultures, we know is a problem. Yes. We need to solve it anyway. So
yes. Okay. No, I think that's very valid, and perhaps a quick look at range maps to see whether that really would change things for any particular country is something that we would need to do.
Cape Verde would be the case if they're still there.
Yeah. Well, yes, exactly. So, Dimitar, do come in.
Just to agree with all the others that even if we test something within Bulgaria, it's not going to work. We need some kind of international partnership which can push our government and the relevant institution on a very high level in order this to be successful. Otherwise, even if we tested an Egyptian vulture in Bulgaria, it's not going to be easily accepted as the reason to stop the diclofenac for sure, and ketoclofan. So that's probably the only stable thing.
Thank you. Well, having Umberto, I guess, from CMS and for Vulture Specialist Group, which I guess I represent, those pressure angles would be helpful in this context, would they? Or what level of pressure do you think might be appropriate? And perhaps I see Stoyan's got his hand up, so maybe do you want to comment on that, Stoyan, or Dimitar, what do you think?
I want just to add that it will be good as an exercise, because there is a task force established and so on to investigate also what evidence are requested by authorities to ban the NSAIDs in the relevant country, because there could be some common arguments which could be solved, or some locally different. As I mentioned, our ministry wants evidence that a vulture is dead from this substance in Bulgaria. Doesn't matter you prove it toxic in India. They want evidence here. I don't know about the Middle East and the other regions, but if we have some kind of a questionnaire distributed to the range state of CMS, for instance, asking what evidence they need to take these steps over banning NSAIDs in the relevant countries for vet use, this might help.
Just to add something specific, in my personal conversation with the director of Bulgarian Food Agency, he just said that two main reasons. First, he used the evidence as just a means to prolongate this this decision. just to tell us that it's not going to discuss anymore until we find a proof in Bulgaria. But the main reasons for them is that he said something like that. There is not alternative for them. And probably the biggest reason is that there is a lot of financial interest from corporations. So
okay. Can I
that's
just
the main
quickly,
reason.
Can I quickly comment on that before I go to Tarek?
Yeah.
In that, I mean, the argument that there's no alternative is really no longer valid because we have two alternatives which should be available. I mean, meloxicam seems to be available pretty much globally, and the price of meloxicam is really not very different from diclofenac in most countries anyway. So meloxicam has been the one that we've been talking about a long while, but there's now a second one that we know is safe, which is tolfenamic acid. And that one, the properties are slightly more similar to diclofenac. Each one is slightly different, but they are two viable NSAIDs which we know are safe. So that argument can be overcome, I think. But of course, it's inconvenient for business and veterinarians that are familiar. But yeah, but let me go to Tarek.
Yes, last thing, as this is the diclofenac as including a business pressure, I think it's very it's helpful for us to provide for the government a detailed economic survey that provided more detailed information for using alternative. As for Jordan, maybe more than 8 companies already get a license to produce diclofenac for use. So if we ask them to use the alternative or to convince the government to take this decision, maybe we need to provide them a detailed economic survey, the impact for using the maybe no impact for using the alternative, so they can negotiate with the private sector about using the alternative.
Yes, and just to add to that, I think you can do that. And so on the SAVE website, we have produced these dossiers on the website, which you can download for each of the drugs. All the information is there, and using those dossiers it's on the NSAID alert tab of the website. If you go down, you can find them and download them, but let me know if you have a problem. And it was using those dossiers that, for example, Oman and Saudi Arabia, they just used those and presented those to the government, and that was enough to convince in the case of Oman and maybe in Saudi Arabia also. So I think that you have, are you familiar with those dossiers, by the way? Have you checked that, Tarek, on the SAVE website? Anyway, they're there, so you can. Anyone else like to come in and make a comment? Richard, did you have your hand up at one point, or have you decided to take it down again?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I did have my hand up, but then you couldn't hear me, so I went away. I ran away. I was very annoyed, turned it off and started again. But I have sent you a message.
Okay.
However, what I wanted to say was that I think that although it could be very useful to sacrifice an Egyptian vulture to prove the toxicity of diclofenac, I think do it at your peril, because the news headlines would be conservationists kill birds. And I think it's as simple as that. So do not ever be tempted to do it, even with a captive bird that is nearly dying.
Okay. Interesting. And I do take, I mean, that in conjunction with Umberto's point that wherever you've got Egyptian vultures, you've probably got another species of vulture anyway. So I think that, yeah, okay, yeah, interesting.
That was just my comment anyway.
Yeah, no. Anyone else got any thoughts on that? And then let's move to the other questions that we've.
Chris, I think we might be out of time now.
Oh right, okay. Well, I think that's been very useful though. But well, any last comments that people want to, burning things you want to add? Or if not, we will yeah, well, thanks very much for coming, and we'll do our best to compile that. And Umberto, yeah, we must talk more on the fact sheet and what we take forward on that, mustn't we? So
absolutely.
Great. Okay, thanks very much, everyone. And yeah, Mary tells us that we're out of time, and apologies if we've not used it to full advantage, but I think that's been good. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Yep. Cheers.
Cheerio.
Thanks.
Bye.